Hey friends, welcome back to a special episode of Trades Talk. I'm your host, Justin White, and today we do not have a guest, and we also don't have Maggie. So things are a little crazy in both of our worlds right now. Beginning of the year, a lot of conferences, a lot of meetings, a lot going on. Disruptors is live, things are happening, but I thought I would jump on with you guys today and just have a conversation about what's happening inside the disruptors, kind of bring it to life and share with you guys some of the things I've learned so far, even in just the last few weeks of going live. I want to go over a few of our classroom guests that we've had, some of the takeaways I've had, and hopefully provide some value in this podcast as a beginning of the year, fresh start. Here's some things you could do in your business today to push the needle forward. Maybe something you can do with your team to push the needle forward. So let's go ahead and dive in. I want to start by just going over this idea of a vision. And you guys, I've talked about a company vision before, but you need to have a clear vision of where your company is going. So part of the disruptors, we have a classroom. And one of the courses I created is the Inspiring Vision. This course goes over all the components you need to have in a vision and provide your team the guidance, the roadmap, the playbook on how to get to where they need to go. So let's start with the big one. It's the 10-year target. It's this idea you need something at 10 years that is going to be accomplishable. Something that, well, it's not going to be accomplishable. Something that is going to be hard to attain. Something that might even be impossible. We call it a big, hairy, audacious goal or a BHAG. And the idea of a BHAG is it's way out there. It's 10 years, 15 years down the road, and it seems almost impossible to attain. The next step you need to have is a 3-year, highly achievable goal. This is something that your team should feel is a layup and easy to accomplish in the next 3 years. Backing in, you need a 1-year plan, and you need to be clear and definitive on how you define your 1-year goals and what is success in 2025, at least for right now. You need to build momentum with that vision, and you need to have team alignment. I talk about team alignment a lot because as executives, we think we have team alignment because we do something like tell someone our vision, and then we just feel like they know what it is now. But your team will only hear that vision once, and they won't believe it, and they won't buy into it. They need to hear it 7, 10, 15 times from you before they really believe that you are truly behind this new vision, especially if it's a pivot from where you have been or it's something that you're not doing before. So if you're going to lay out a new vision, make sure to have team alignment. The other thing I like to do is take massive action in the first few weeks. What can you do in the next 3 to 4 weeks to take massive action towards this new vision, to make sure your team feels 100% aligned, that you are focusing on this vision, that you are committed to making this vision happen? So there's some takeaways from the vision and what's going on there. Another aspect is profitability and finance. I don't know about you guys, but finance seems to be a massive challenge right now. A lot of cash flow issues in the landscape industry. A lot of people not hitting the profit goals that they were hoping for in 2024. And I think it's just a matter of overhead really creeping up. And let's face it, a lot of people in the industry are looking to grow. And what does growth require? It requires cash. So if you're going to grow your business and you're not going to invest cash, then you're going to feel a constraint somewhere. And it's typically going to be in people. Now, if you are going to grow and you are going to invest cash, well, then you're going to feel a pain point in your bank account because you're investing that cash. You may not be able to take as much out of your bank like you were previous to this growth spurt. So in the course called How to Make More Profit with Greg Herring, Greg and I really discuss the 3 reasons why landscapers aren't making as much money as they should. So let's open up and dive into those 3 reasons. Number 1 is you're not pricing your product correctly or your service correctly. If you want to make a lot of money, you need a price to make a lot of money. You're never going to make it up in efficiencies and labor gains. Like, you may make some of it, but for the greater percentage of your jobs, you're probably going to come in hopefully where you estimated. But if your estimated pricing is not profitable, then that's going to be an issue. The next is efficiencies. So once you are pricing for profit and you're pricing for high margins, then you should be able to deliver those high margins. Where you're going to run into issues is around labor efficiency. If you have 100 hours scheduled to do a job and it takes you 120, that's not going to be good. That's going to be an issue. And many companies out there are in this place, but they don't realize it because they don't have software. We use Aspire, which gives us real-time data, like day in and day out data on how we're doing around labor variance. So our teams know the score. And a lot of people talk about a scoreboard for your business. I'm a fan of this, but it shouldn't be revenue. It shouldn't be output. It should be input. You should be measuring the inputs. Like, I love that in a football game, we see the score, but we're not playing football. We're playing an infinite game. So what we need to measure instead of the score is we need to measure inputs. How are we practicing? How are we going into these games with the right mindset and the right activity level? Are we preparing correctly? So labor variance is a great input to measure, because if your labor variance is below 100%, meaning you're using less hours to do the job than you estimated, and you're pricing for profit, you should have a profitable business. Now, the case where that you may not have a profitable business is where your overhead gets really bloated. Usually it happens in spring or winter when you're hiring employees and kind of building your company up and you're trying to make something happen, but you realize you're taking on more cost and you're taking it on quicker, then you're pricing those cost processes in. You're not recovering that overhead. So a lot of times where you're at today is a result of your activities 3 to 6 months ago. So if you're in a really good spot, ask yourself, what did we do 3 to 6 months ago to be in this spot? If you're in a bad spot, what did we do 3 to 6 months ago to put us into this spot? So sometimes we figure that whatever we're doing today is the result we're going to see tomorrow. But oftentimes, especially in the landscape industry, it can be 6 months or more from the point you see it return or the point of lag time. If you're in certain industries like commercial construction, this could be a 2-year cycle. So it's really hard to know if you are doing the right things, because the results around sales, the results around pricing, the results around profit may be 2 years in lag. So be careful with that. Be careful with how you change what you're doing based on the information you're getting. Which is a little side note. It's January. I hope you did your renewals for the beginning of the year. Those who renew at the beginning of the year on a calendar basis, specifically for maintenance contracts. Look, you should be getting at least a 4 to 5% increase on your entire book of business, a minimum 4 to 5% increase. This should give you a nice head start going into 2025. And although some people say this is a free way to grow, I think it balances out your retention and your maybe lack of retention around poor performing customers, because some of those customers are not a fit for you and you're going to have to fire some clients this year. So the idea is if you get a 5% raise on your book and you fire maybe 3 or 4% of your book, you're going to break even there. Now, you're going to have some turnover in other areas around client retention, and hopefully you have a good, strong business development team to replace that lost revenue and add to it. But annual renewals have to be done well. They have to have a strategy, and they have to have a clear goal in mind. So that's really the 3 things that Greg and I talk about. It's pricing for profit, it's maximizing profit through labor efficiencies, and then it's renewal strategies, making sure you have a clear renewal strategy. So since we're on finance, let's go ahead and stay on that topic a little bit, and let's talk about private equity 101 with Jeff Harkness. So this is another course in the classroom, and guys, hopefully this podcast is adding some value. I'm just basically going through all of this amazing content that we've created and sharing the insights with you. Now, if you want more information, you want to check out the disruptors, feel free, shoot me a DM or find us on the internet. I mean, you can just type in Justin White disruptors on Google, probably find it. I don't want this to be a sales pitch for joining the disruptors. I just feel like we've created some amazing content, and some of these lessons I've learned over the last 3 to 6 months of creating this content, I've implemented in my business, and I am seeing a massive, massive return in a positive direction. So I want to share those with you guys. So let's go ahead and talk about it. Private Equity 101. Really, this is this idea of access to capital. So the first step is, if you're going to grow your business, you have a few options. You could use your own money. That's like using the cash of the business or maybe some savings you have. Most likely that is going to constrain your growth the most because you can only grow as fast as you can fund. Also, as entrepreneurs, and some of us call ourselves entrepreneurs, even though we're truly just business owners and we have a high paying job, you're not going to invest in your business as much as a capital institution would invest, because you don't look at your business as an asset. You look at it as more of a place to gain profit and create a revenue stream, create an income stream to live off of. So you're not necessarily looking at it as an asset. So that could be a constraint, is when you self-fund growth. Now, we've been doing that at K&D for 15 years. I'm not against that. I'm just saying, be careful when you take that mindset. Another access to capital option is you can go out and get conventional debt. So you can go to the bank and you can go and ask them for a loan, an SBA loan, a conventional loan. Typically, this is going to be less money. You're going to have to put your personal assets on the line. It's an opportunity to get capital, but sometimes can be constraining on how you spend the money and how much risk you have. The next option is, you've got a rich family member. You got a rich uncle. That's not my case, and may or may not be your case, but you can raise money from friends and family, and you can borrow money from them and pay it back. I mean, this is pretty rare, but it happens. And honestly, you may or may not know someone who has a big business, and it's because they had a rich uncle. Nothing against them. They leveraged that relationship and that money to grow their business. The other option is mezzanine debt, or mezz debt. And the final option would be private equity or family office or outside capital. I'm not going to go too far into mezz debt, private equity, or outside capital on this podcast. If you want to learn more about it, we have recorded some podcasts with that content. And of course, the Classroom and the Disruptors, Jeff Harkness goes through this in detail. I've mentioned Jeff's name a few times. For you guys that don't know Jeff, Jeff is a CEO and founder at 3PG Advisors. 3PG Advisors is a brokerage firm out of Atlanta, Georgia, and they're responsible for some of the biggest deals in the landscape industry. They have helped broker a lot of M&A activity. They're behind some of the biggest names. If you go to their website, you'll see a lot of amazing brands that I'm sure you'll recognize. They did over $1 billion in deals in just the last year alone. They're really an amazing wealth of knowledge, and they do great work. I tapped Jeff because he has some of the most inside information when it comes to what's going on in the landscape industry today. He has seen these deals be put together, and he has seen the dynamics of these deals closer than almost anyone else. So that's one thing we talk about, access to capital and those 5 or 6 areas. The next is the buy and build strategy. It's unpacking this strategy that Brightview and so many others have utilized to grow their business at rapid rates over the last 10 years. This buy and build strategy has picked up momentum and picked up popularity in recent years. You're seeing some of the most well-known companies, especially in the top 5, utilize this buy and build strategy. And you'll see it working in different ways. You'll see companies creating like a holding company where they keep the brands in place. And you're seeing others that change the brands over to one name and they kind of fly under one flag. Either way, understanding what this strategy is, the pros and cons of it, will help you decide if you want to implement a buy and build strategy, or potentially you're looking to sell your business and you want to understand how the investors' minds work behind the buy and build strategy. The next is value creation. And this basically is, how do you build a business that is ultimately extremely valuable? How do you build a company and an organization that you can sell? Something that when you decide to step away, you have a sellability on that asset. You have an asset that's worth, that's able to sell. To do this, you have to understand what investors are looking at. If you are setting up a business that you want to sell, then you need to look at what investors are going to buy it and how do you set it up so it can sell in the best way possible. You may be listening to this saying, I'm never going to sell. Fine. But wouldn't you rather have a business that is sellable than have a business that is not sellable, whether you want to sell it or not? Because typically a sellable business is going to allow you to have more freedom. You're not going to be constrained to the day in and day out operation of the business, and you're going to have more ability to be a visionary, to be strategic in the company. So that's kind of what we talk about when we talk about value creation and creating a sellable asset. So there's just a few takeaways of what's happening inside the disruptor, some of the courses we created, some of the things we're learning. But ultimately, guys, in 2025, the biggest differentiation of people who are going to be successful versus the people who aren't, it's going to be about action. It's going to be about taking massive action. And 2025 is a year of action. It's a year to test new ideas, to try out new technology, and to go all in. It's time to pull the trigger on those things that you have been looking at. You know what I'm talking about. There's something on your plate. There's something in your email. There's something on your to-do list that you should be already implementing, and you're not. You're not because you're afraid the team's not going to onboard it. You're afraid it's going to overwhelm you or the team. You're afraid that it's going to derail your strategic focus in your business. But to be honest, your inability to take action is going to hold you back in 25. Up until now, we've been able to get along with just providing good services, being a quality operation, providing consistent customer service, and treating our employees well. The bar has been raised. The level is going up. And if you want to stay in the top 5%, the top 1% of this industry, you also have to level up your game, because the goalpost at which we measure success is moving. 2020, we're going to see that goalpost move more than ever. And if you are not taking massive action, your status quo, your standard, will become much lower in comparison to the top performers in the industry. Private equity, institutional money, buy and build. These companies are changing the game. They're providing amazing technology solutions. They're implementing great quality services and building companies where employees have amazing perks. It's time to take massive action, step up your game, and build the company that you know you're capable of building. I know that you have the potential and the knowledge is there. It's not a matter of learning. It's not a matter of going out and taking a bunch of courses or taking a bunch of classes. Although I did just share with you all these classes in the disruptors, that's not the point. The point is information is everywhere. It's all about action. It's all about accountability. It's all about discipline. So in 25, that is my motto. My motto is massive action. My motto is move the needle forward every day as far as possible. Experimenting with new ideas, experimenting with new technologies, asking my team for feedback, asking the industry what they're doing. There is more people today taking massive action in the landscape industry than ever before. So you can go and find examples of that and then just one up them. I just say it's like copy and paste with an added improvement. But I know what you're thinking. There's a lot going on. There's a lot on our plates. There's a lot to do. And at the beginning of the year, we can find ourselves overwhelmed with goals and objectives and ideas. I want to help spread the message. As great as goal setting is, and I'm a big fan of it, you need to take action. You need to take action today. You need to take action tomorrow. And you need to keep doing that for the rest of this year if you want to stay on top of the game. So this is where we go from here. We're going to wrap this up because I think this podcast needs to be quick. It needs to be short. It needs to be to the point. And it's time to go get to work. So from here, this is what you're going to do. You need to identify 8 areas that you need to work on in your business. I'm going to list them off here, and I'm going to ask you to do a task. So get a writing utensil handy and write these 8 areas down. Okay, here we go. Number 1 is self-mastery. Number 2 is vision. Number 3 is culture. Number 4 is sales. Number 5 is marketing. Number 6, execution. Number 7, finance. Number 8, technology. In these 8 areas, what I want you to do is write down the one thing in each area that you need to focus on this week. Not this year, this week. What one thing in self-mastery? Is it meditation? Is it eating better? Is it getting healthier? What one thing do you need to do this week? Envision. What do you need to do? What's the one thing? Do you need to create a vision? Do you need to talk about the vision? Do you need to double down on the vision? Do you need to make the vision bigger? Do you need to double down on your core values? Culture. People. What do you need to do with your people? You need to fire. You need to hire. You need to promote. Create better job descriptions. Create more clarity. What do you need to do in culture? Sales. I'm not even going to go there because we have so much work to do in sales. I know for a fact you have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in revenue sitting in your pipeline that you have sold, should I say, you have proposed in 2024 that has not been won or lost. Yeah, you might have lost it, but did you really lose it? What I mean by that is you have proposed a lot of work in 2024 that you need to follow up on. Is that the number one thing in sales? It is for us. We're going to go through every proposal that we don't have a definitive no on, that someone else hasn't built or someone else isn't maintaining, and we're going to go after that. So keep going down the list. Marketing, execution, finance, technology. What is the one thing this week you need to do to move that area forward in your business, in your life, in your team, in your career? Write that down. Take massive action on it. Look, I hope this podcast moved the needle. It was a little intense. I get it. I get into it. I get into the mood. But guys, this is the opportunity you have to get ahead of the game. Because if you're not ahead in 25, you will fall behind. I hope you guys enjoyed this solo podcast. If you want to hear more of it, let me know and we'll keep going. All right. Peace for now.